The Kansas City Chiefs are gearing up to take on the Houston Texans in what might be an elimination game for the Kansas City Chiefs. But if that is not going to be the case, there are going to have to be some things that work out for the Kansas City Chiefs that have not worked out this week so far. So, 5 things worth watching as we head into the Chiefs and the Texans. Number 1 is this, obviously. It is the offensive line. The Kansas City Chiefs will survive or they will not, based on what it is that the offensive line is able to do against the Texans. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are both in the top 6 in the NFL in sacks, and the Chiefs will be without either of their starting offensive tackles. You know this. Everyone has been saying this all week long. So let's go a little bit deeper than this. The real thing to watch here won't be the offensive tackles themselves, as hopefully it's a temporary pairing. Hopefully, at least Jawan Taylor is able to come back in the near term, which is a phrase that, golly, I don't know that I would have caught myself saying quite some time ago. But Wanya Morris is hopefully short-lived for a starting offensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, though I did have high hopes for him. The real thing to watch will be whether or not Andy Reid is too stubborn to give those offensive tackles any help. It is do or die for this team in this game. You're going to have to make a decision as to whether or not a Super Bowl run is possible by how well Wanya Morris can block one of the best defensive ends in the game. That's a problem. For 5 games in a row now, for 5 games in a row and 6 of the last 7, Patrick Mahomes has been sacked at least 3 times. That's a disaster. Also, a bonus for the offensive line in this game, both C.J. Hansen and Ezapole will be dressing for this game. Is there any chance that we see one or both of them? It is unlikely, I think. I think that one of them is probably still going to be a scratch for whether or not they actually dress for the game. I do not have the list of actives yet, but Ezapole has extremely high potential based on what we've seen on the field. Maybe not the measurables, right? C.J. Hansen has extremely high potential based on the measurables, maybe not what we've seen so far on the field. I think both of these players have a chance to be good offensive linemen in the NFL, and it is the Chiefs being in a rough position that might get them at least a wink and a nod this season. Here's something funny about this game as well. Patrick Mahomes might be able to set a career high in this game. Patrick Mahomes is 41 yards away from a career high in rushing yards with an entire month of the season to go. Given that the Texans have a solid defense, but they really only get pressure and sacks from the defensive end positions, add to that the Texans have been one of the best defenses in the NFL at not giving up passing yards to a scrambling quarterback, to a passer outside of the pocket. And I think we could see Patrick Mahomes getting into his bag a little bit as a runner, because what he's going to want to do is soften up the defense for later in the game. What do I mean by that? Well, Patrick Mahomes is going to see a lot of pressure. If early in the game, when Patrick Mahomes sees pressure, he just tucks it and runs. Doesn't look for an open man. Doesn't decide to dance around. Doesn't scramble a little bit. Just tucks it and runs. If he does that, it's going to train the defense to start abandoning their man the minute they see Patrick Mahomes tuck the football. That's what Patrick Mahomes wants. Come the second quarter, the third quarter, come that fourth quarter, once that defense is softened up a little bit and Patrick Mahomes gets on his wily ways, he could scramble the defense starts to come up and boop, right over the top. That is what I think he is going to want to do, sort of strategically, or tactically, I guess that would be, in this game. Now, the number 3 thing to watch here is an interesting one, just from a football fan, Chiefs fan standpoint. The top set of numbers there are the wide receiver, running back, tight end, receiving numbers for 2025. This is 2025. This is 2024. You see that all last season, Patrick Mahomes had a career low 3,924 yards, something like that. He already has 3,200 yards at this point in the season with 5 games left. Travis Kelce led the team last year with 823 yards and 3 touchdowns. This year, he has 719 with 5 games left to play and 5 touchdowns already. Number 2 on the team this year is Rashee Rice, the man who was absent most of the season last year. He was number 7 last year because of that injury. He ended last year with 288 yards, put all of them up in the first 4 games. We know that. This year, through 6 games, he has 486 yards. The average is pretty compelling because it was 12.0 last year. It's 11.6 this year. Kind of the same average there. Had 2 touchdowns through 4 games last year, has 5 touchdowns through 6 games this year. Then we have Hollywood Brown, 3rd on the team this year. Last year, 3rd on the team was DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins with 437 yards. This year we have number 3 being Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown already has 459 yards. Hollywood Brown, the number 3 receiver this year, has more than the number 3 receiver all of last year. Xavier Worthy this year, number 4 with 401 receiving yards. Last year, he was number 2 with 638 through the whole season. It is the case that Xavier Worthy might have had a better rookie season than he will a sophomore campaign in the NFL. He is proving not to be as consistent as I think the team was hoping he would be. Number 5 here is Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton with 372 yards. Last year, that was 322 through the whole season with Samaje Perine. So the number 4 and 5 wide receivers, or receiver, pass catchers, this year already have more yards than the entirety of last year. Tyquan Thornton, I have seen a lot of commentary that why would Tyquan Thornton come back to the Kansas City Chiefs? Why would Tyquan Thornton ever return to the Chiefs when they've treated him the way that they have this year? This is a very good season for Tyquan Thornton. 372 yards and 3 touchdowns with a month of the season left to go. Do not short sell that. Juju Smith-Schuster closing in on 300 yards last season. He was number 8 on the squad with 231. All in all, you see, so Noah Gray has basically disappeared. 437 yards last year, 132 this year. Very troubling from that standpoint. You have him appearing in 11 games, starting 5 of them. You had him last year appearing in all 17, starting 10 of them. You have him with 49 targets last season, only finding his way to, what is that? 16 so far this year. So just interesting to keep an eye on for the Kansas City Chiefs heading into this game, that they are already closing in on the amount of yards that they had all last year. The number 4 thing to watch in this game is Chris Jones. And hopefully that is Chris Jones with a something. Chris Jones has 3 sacks in 12 games. Chris Jones is on pace to have 17 quarterback hits, which would be tied for his lowest since his sophomore campaign in the NFL. Texans center Jake Andrews has a 61.6 pass blocking grade, and he's given up just a single sack this year. Guard Ed Ingram has a 62.0 pass blocking grade this year, and he's only given up 2 sacks on the season. Those are bad grades but decent results, right? None of the resulting sacks for the Texans have been blamed on these guys. I'm blanking on their other offensive guard, but he has not allowed any sacks so far this season. However, left tackle Ariante Ursary, who is a Kansas City guy, right? Ariante Ursary has a 63.7 pass blocking grade, and he has surrendered 7 sacks so far this season. I would rather see Chris Jones stick to the middle of the defense rather than getting to pick where it is that he lines up on the defensive line. As he has gotten more of those opportunities, his career has kind of spiraled downwards. He held out to get money and seemingly some control, some say, over his character development, right? I don't remember too terribly much him having the pick and say where he lined up prior to that new contract. Last year, Chris Jones had 5 sacks. This year, Chris Jones has 3 through most of the season. I would rather see Chris Jones stick to the middle and pick on that offensive guard and that center. But if he does call his shot and line up against Ariante Ursary, he has to make it count. If he's going to pick his shot, he has to get home. It is high time for there to be consequences to lack of production for a guy making more money than anything holy, okay? So whether or not Chris Jones wants to be on the interior of that defensive line, he needs to be. And he does not need to be picking inopportune moments to do a swim move on an offensive guard on a play where that offensive guard is just going to carry up to the linebackers and take one of the linebackers out so the opposing running back can run 17 yards for a touchdown. Anyway, here is one of the bigger matchups in this game, Nico Collins and Trent McDuffie. It would seem through this portion of the season, Nico Collins has the edge. He has an 83.3 overall score. Trent McDuffie has a 76.7 overall score. Something interesting to note, this score is higher, that 83.3, but he is the 10th rated wide receiver. A 76.7 for Trent McDuffie makes him the 6th rated cornerback out of 110. A receiving grade of 82.4 for Nico Collins, a pass coverage grade of 76.1 for Trent McDuffie. Nico Collins has 92 targets on the season, 57 receptions. Trent McDuffie has only given up 36 receptions on the season. He has 1 interception compared to these 4 touchdowns that have been received by Nico Collins. This is an absolute massive matchup for this game. If it ends up being Trent McDuffie and Nico Collins going man-to-man through most of this game, whoever wins that matchup is obviously going to give their team a heads up in the competition. But the bigger part of that is maybe not the statistics, not what the stat sheet says in this matchup. It's going to be however you decide to call swag, however you decide to call vibes, however you decide to call setting the mood, setting the tone. Whoever wins this matchup from a tone-setting perspective is going to give their team a leg up. Because we have seen time and again the Chiefs' defense, when things start to go bad, when things start to go wrong, they get into read, react, and chase mode. But when things are going good for this defense, they're just smacking people. So I think that this matchup, more so than any on the Chiefs' defense, maybe more so than... So it would be easy to say that the Texans defensive ends versus the Chiefs offensive tackles. I think that's going to be neutralized by what Patrick Mahomes shows up. If Patrick Mahomes shows up that's willing to dink and dunk and take the open man, that might be neutralized a little bit. This matchup here, Nico Collins versus Trent McDuffie, I think is going to be a tone setter for the Chiefs defense, maybe the Chiefs 53, as well as the Texans on Sunday. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.